Good morning, dear seekers, dear fellow humans. We made it through another night. It's a little rainy here in Portland. Not a lot, just a little. Hello on Facebook and YouTube. My name's Robert Beatty, and I'm broadcasting this morning from eastern Beaverton on the border with Portland. This is the broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community. We do have a wonderful brick and mortar place to meet, but right now we're doing social distancing, and very effectively. Someone told me yesterday that out of a list of 52 metropolitan areas in the United States, Portland is ranked number 50 for number of cases of COVID-19. So good fortune, and we're doing something right, something's right, and may it persist. So I'm really glad you all are joining me this morning, Saturday morning. It's not a weekday, and here we are. I'm on a Mary Oliver jag now. The Buddha's last instruction. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and violet, even green. An old man, he lay down between two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing it was his final hour. The light burns upward, it thickens and settles over the fields. Around him the villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen. Even before the sun itself hangs disattached, in the blue air I am touched everywhere by its ocean of yellow waves. No doubt he thought of everything that had happened in his long and difficult life. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire. Clearly I am not needed, yet I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly, beneath the branches, he raised his head. He looked into the faces of that frightened crowd. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha. The Buddha's last instruction. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness, to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and violet, even green. An old man, he lay down between two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing it was his final hour. The light burns upward, it thickens and settles over the fields. Around him, the villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen. Even before the sun itself hangs disattached in the blue air, I am touched everywhere by its ocean of yellow waves. No doubt he thought of everything that had happened in his long and difficult life. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire. Clearly I'm not needed. Yet I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly, beneath the branches, he raised his head. He looked into the faces of that frightened crowd. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha. Traditional translations speak of the Buddha saying, take refuge in the Dharma. Take no other refuge. Refuge in things as they really are. As I read that piece of the sun coming up over the horizon, I was pulled into a memory of being with Ruth Dennison in Palm Desert near Palm Springs. When I would go down and visit her sometimes, we would go to an old spa. She used to take people there also on retreats. We'd go and we'd be in the hot water and she'd teach movement meditation and appreciation of the sense doors. But each morning I would get up early. She'd still be sleeping and I'd go for a long walk in the hills. That really happened. There really were those times. They were good times. There were those times and now there's this time. Let's make it an awake time. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. This is the moment of our life. Later today is going to be just the same. That'll be the moment of our life. Let's inhabit it. Stephen Levine used to say, this is the healing we took birth for. Somehow this morning, the fact of these great beings, Ruth and Stephen, on whose shoulders I stand. So many of us do. The fact that they actually lived. And then they moved on. It's a strange thing, this life. So let's land here in it. Awareness and all of its objects, they co-arise. Let us conjure up some moments of gratitude. How wonderful to not be in the hospital. How wonderful to have food in the cupboards. A roof over our heads. How wonderful that we can feel our hands. The symptoms of my stroke that I had back in October are almost completely gone. There's still some weirdness in my left foot. Just a little reminder. The stroke was a little bit larger than the head of a pin in the scans that they took. So gratitude that everything is in balance right now and that the sense doors are working. And gratitude for each other and for the Dharma. Noticing awareness of the body. There's the matter of the body and there's sensations, and there is the knowing of it. There's a cloud of sensations which are the manifestation of the body. And in the midst of this, there is the tidal, seasonal oscillation of in-breathing and out-breathing. As a fletcher straightens an arrow, so does the meditator train the mind. Be awake, be here, be stable. Noticing the sensations of in-breathing and out-breathing. When awareness awakens to the wandering mind, simply come home to breathing. Sometimes emotions arise, or we come to our meditation spot with emotions running. Or there's a mood that's coloring perception. Sometimes when these are repetitive or strong, it makes sense to put aside the breath and turn toward the mood. Not as an intellectual thinking about it, but actually turning awareness toward it and embracing it. This is the mood that's present, or these are the thoughts, these are the sensations, this is the affect or the emotion. embracing the reality of this moment. Fully. Each breath has a beginning. It comes out of nowhere. Is that true? See if that's true. There may be a pause between breaths, and then there's just a body, or there's awareness. And then there's a certain urge that emerges. And then there's the initiation of breathing, all by itself. And the sensations in the nostrils come and go, or in the chest and abdomen come and go. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha. Become awake, aware, present. This moment is all we ever have. The past is a collection of memories. It's left some traces in the body, of course, physiology, the nervous system. But the experience of the past is now. The experience of the future is now. To be fully alive is to be present now. With this breath, it's so ordinary. This breathing in, this breathing out. it helps us. It helps us to sit longer than 20 or so minutes because it takes that long for the liver to process out the excitatory chemistry in the blood. So the chance of having that experience where the parasympathetic nervous system comes on increases a lot. So we rest back into the present moment. Reminds me of the song by The Chant by Gina Salah. Rest back in the arms of love. Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms, you are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love. And our meditation is all about love. Allowing there to be room for everything. Room for everything, including the galaxies and planets and the whales and the seasons, the great rivers, birth and death, the vicissitudes, having and not having, pleasure, pain, gain, loss, praise, disrepute. And so we open and rest in our true nature. In our vastness. And we remember that we, for a time, exist in a human body, as a human body. Please bring awareness, manifest awareness, do the miracle of awareness in that place in the universe you think of as of my hands. You just think of it as my hands. And let your hands move and caress each other. Notice the contact. Let them slide over each other in the ways that you do, and washing them and washing themselves. Maybe add in the great mantra, I love you, and let one hand love the other. And notice how mutual it is. I love you. In the time of COVID, this is an important gesture, an important mudra, sacred motion. And then, if you've not already opened your eyes, let them open to see these hands really making love with each other. Notice how they can touch. And all it takes is a thought or an intention, and a different motion happens. And your touch can be super light or harder, or you could tap. Or there's the practice Ruth Denison, I remember her doing it, which is to bring the fingers together more like two spiders, or a spider on a mirror, and let them separate. Let the baby fingers separate, and then the fourth fingers, and then the middle fingers, index and thumb, and then mindfully bringing them back together. And notice that moment of contact when they touch. It's really quite something. Touching, 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 touching. And then separating again, separating. There's contact and then there's not. And then I invite you to, those of you that can, on Zoom, take a moment to look at your screen and let your heart be full, let your heart open. See what happens. Huh. And we don't have to, but one of the ways we can prime ourselves is to think a blessing thought. May you be happy, or may your life become one great sigh of gratitude, or may you recognize that this very moment it's possible to be wide awake, receptive. As COVID-19 is showing us, we're all on this trip together on our little spaceship planet. Make of yourself a light, said the Buddha. Be awake. Take the Dharma as your refuge. Take what's real. So, dear friends, in a moment I'm going to ask you to share what's of importance in your heart this morning. Two announcements I think of. One is my dear beloved friend and colleague Doug Pullen is offering a class on the Brahma Viharas, on the abode of the gods, they're called, on the four healthy affective emotional states: love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And he starts in a couple of weeks, and it'll keep you out of trouble if you do his class. He really understands those qualities very deeply. And the other is the ongoing request for your generous support of our meditation center. And also, I guess it'd be good to mention just the fact of generosity, plain and simple. That to figure out some way today, of course, practice mindfulness. Of course, practice moral and ethical behavior to the best of our ability. But also, how can we each push the wheel of generosity a little further today? How much more generous could you be with your own inner life? if you live with someone, how might you, without violating your boundaries, without overdoing it codependently, how might you be a little more generous? So with that, I invite your heartfelt sharing. Jim saying he needs to leave early. World Tai Chi and Qigong Day gathering in the park in the rain. Yay, Jim, go get him.
Good morning. I just, something came to my mind as you were leading us through the meditation. And the last couple days, I've been sort of, um, feeling a little more driven. And then the thought came to me, don't get on the horse, just pet it instead.
That's cute.
That felt good to me. So anyway, I'm out here in horse country, so I guess
Oh,
that's
I
it.
see.
Thank you.
Don't get on the horse, just pet it. Yeah. That impulse to go into hyperdrive is really seductive, isn't it? I lose myself into that and then wake up and sometimes I come home and I say to Jennifer, I was so productive today, as the, as though that, right? Okay, that and what? Not that it's not important to be productive, but to create an identity around how much I could churn out in a day. It's quite nutty.
Hi, Robert.
Christopher, hi.
I was wondering if you could provide some guidance on wanting to connect with others who you may disagree on fundamental levels that you think maybe are basic human rights to people that this person may not see eye to eye on, and how I could use Buddha's teachings to work with these individuals who, yeah, I feel like there's fundamental human rights that this person may not agree with. And I don't want to give them permission. I struggle that, I don't know, this could be controversial, but like abortion, that I'm on the side that, the woman has control over her body and she should have the option. Someone may not agree with that. Uh, Refugees seeking out a place to live, and people, someone saying no, they shouldn't come here, even though these people have no place to go. And I don't want to write these people off or respond with anger, because I've done that in the past, and it really doesn't seem to serve for them. And I'm wondering what kind of teachings
Hmm.
deal with these situations, or
This is the Thanksgiving dinner question. Mm. Each each of us is the fruit of all our prior conditioning. And oh, listen. Ah. Oh, it's coming down. So, what fun. So, what's coming to mind right now is the Buddha saying that your friends can be your spiritual equals or superiors. Other people can't really, whoa, loud. Other people, I don't know, do I need to shout or can you hear me fine still? So other people, and then be of assistance, help other people, be loving to other people. But there's a quality of intimacy that with some people there are topics that just don't work. They can't be talked about because in my experience the other person fulminates or gets very aggressive, and there's no cutting through that no matter how hard one tries. And so then I believe, for me anyway, the task is to stay as loving as I can and to say, well, I guess we're not going to talk about that. And it's not my job to convert this other person to my point of view, but that I move toward being as loving as I can in the conversation. But having boundaries, and we just don't talk about this. And I don't text about this. I don't talk about this late at night. I don't. There's some places like that in my own life, and still, so the relationship persists. But sometimes we just have really different values from people, and also the COVID crisis has strengthened a lot of people's fear. And so they move. I know someone somewhat distantly, but close enough, that recently went out and bought a gun. And the person with children. And it seemed like madness to me, but that's where she's gone. And I expressed my concern. But then there's no way I'm going to get her to change her mind. She's siloed in a whole YouTube watching videos that support that, and there's no way I can have impact on that. Is that any help? Follow-up question?
yeah, it does. I'm always trying to look for ways to bridge the gap between people I disagree with, on sometimes fundamentally.
Yeah.
And I want to be kind and loving, and also I don't want to be viewed as sympathetic towards some of those views. Yet I want to strive to find the common ground, and really trying to find a way to communicate and not trigger the other person, or what's the best way? Is it, I've seen people on Facebook just yell at each other,
That's not it. Clearly, right.
Yeah, we know that's not it. So I thank you for your words, and I think loving kindness and when it's time to avoid the topics that really trigger somebody.
You know, I did some study with Marshall Rosenberg when he was alive, and he had a saying: if I can get people in touch with their feelings and needs outside of their opinions, we can resolve any problem in 20 minutes. 'Cause moving out of the opinions, out of thinking, where there can be so much combat. But what are your feelings and what are you really feeling and what do you need? Because those are universal. Reminds me of some, a very short documentary I saw of an Israeli father and a Palestinian father, both of whom had had sons killed. And it was their conversation and the commonality of their feelings and needs was obvious to them. But we get lost in ideologies and we can believe. I mean, yeah. Because let me say one more thing. I'm always cautious with this, but I was born in Montreal and grew up Canadian, of course. And then when I was 21, I hit the road. I hit the ship, actually. I signed onto a ship and worked my way to Australia. And then I was in Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. I lived in Europe for a couple of years. I've been back to Asia a variety of times. But I've lived in places long enough to fall in love with the valley, like in Switzerland, the Ursental, Bear Valley. The last bear was killed in 1814. Ridiculous. But I fell in love with those places. And I realized that nationality and patriotism are strange things. That, I'm a this and I'll kill you because you're infringing upon my turf. That's a very weird phenomenon. So, how to love one another and how to have good boundaries, it's this huge question. Whoa, this rain is great. Thank you. Oh, and I want to say this too. This is a very privileged and very odd position that, you ask such an important question and I have opinions and I'm really just an ordinary person. I don't have any great corner on the truth or what we should do. What I do have is almost 50 years of Dharma practice, and that at least is slowly softening the hard edges. Warren, please just speak, okay? I see that you raised your hand.
Hello?
Hello. There you are. Hi.
I just want to say I'm going to do this. I've been meditating for years now. I'm really, I see it's necessary. I'm here in New York, on Long Island, and COVID is just raging, and I feel surrounded by death, and but it's coming down, it's decreasing, but I wake up with anxiety every morning, and like this morning, my car needs servicing. So I take the car in for servicing. What are the risks of that? And going to the supermarket, that everyone is socially distancing, and so I have to save up my food. So I don't want to go to the supermarket, unless it's essential. And so it's the anxiety is like crazy. And finding one meditation, I just found out about Tricycle and all these things that you click on to. So I feel it's necessary to maintain my stability. I heard you at the beginning saying Portland is number 50 in the country, and I felt, gosh, I wish I was there. Then I hear all these things about how it didn't have to be this way. If it wasn't for Trump, we wouldn't be in this situation. And in New York, we could have done things earlier, and wouldn't have been in this situation. And just filled me with such rage and anxiety, and all the people that died, that in New York and across the country that didn't need to, if there was earlier preparation. And I'm just consumed with this all the time. I just like death is surrounding me. Really.
I can feel and see how much pain you're in. And I'm leaning forward because the speaker is in my computer. I can't hear if I sit back further. So, what to do about that anxiety? Is it anxiety? We have anxiety in order to prepare us to defend ourselves and to plan. I mean, it's built in. But sometimes it goes a little, it's not very helpful. It's too much. And so, in your meditation, I might suggest this: really emphasize concentration. And notice and make a little mental note. When the mind is worrying, make a little note and say, worrying, back to the breath. And then really dive into the breath. Embrace the breath like a lover you haven't seen in 3 years or something. Like, yes. And then climb into the breath like you would into a hammock. And there's a certain rigor involved with put aside the worry, put aside the worry, put aside the worry, because it's not helping. And move toward tranquility through doing that. And same with like the resentment. And I think it's true that we could have acted very differently as a country, and we could have had a lot fewer deaths, and that's done. It's the past. And, quote, holding people accountable and, being sure people get punished, that's really somebody else's business. That our task, yours and mine, is to find some tranquility and peace and ease. Is that making sense?
Yes.
And also, in the breathing meditation, maybe add noting, rising, falling, or on the in-breath, may I be happy, on the out-breath, may all beings be happy. So we're kind of shutting down the anxiety, pushing it aside, we're suppressing it. But not violently, we're suppressing it by giving the mind a different, more functional object to pay attention to. And it's hard. It's really a difficult time. Yeah.
Well, this helps. I will definitely do that. And I know meditation is a cumulative thing, so
Yeah.
I'm trusting that my meditation practice, daily over the years, that it's just
Yep.
more intense now, that this is what's going to save me and carry me forward. Hopefully I'll continue to stay healthy,
Yeah. It's frightening. I notice you still have a Christmas tree. Are you ahead of us? Is New York ahead of us or behind us?
Yeah, but it's actually a New Year's tree, and it has a lot of mermen. The tree is covered with mermen
No.
that my boyfriend and I have collected.
How cool is that? Well, great.
And I not want to take it down, but my boyfriend says it gives me such joy, and we need joy in our lives now. Don't take it down. So.
Why not? I love it. I left my outdoor lights up for years. It's a pain getting up on the ladder. All right, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well. Whew. There really is suffering going on because of this COVID-19, isn't there? It's so big. I think it's so monumental, it's hard to imagine. The Dukkha planet.
Hi, Robert.
Stephanie!
Hi. Can I ask a practice question?
Sure.
I've been noticing as I go deeper in my, when I get calmer, I get nauseous, and I was just wondering. So I'll get over it, and then I'll go deeper, and then I get nauseous again. Is there any way to handle that rather than noting it?
Zofran.
It's not like a real nauseous. It's like a, I don't know.
I loved Zofran. When I had my brain surgery, I was so nauseated. Really not.
Yeah.
That was obnoxious. Turn toward it. Turn toward the
Yeah.
nausea. It's not a nice feeling, but turn
No.
toward it, and it melts, and then you go deeper again. Any number of psychophysical, psychospiritual, physical phenomena happen. Pain sometimes will come as we go deeper that we don't know what they're about. We don't know their origin.
So it's like a physiological thing that it's just like, yeah.
It could well be, or a neurological thing, and on more than one handful of times,
Yeah.
I've had people on retreat come to me and they really think they're having a heart attack. However, as soon as they get up from their meditation seat, it's gone. And then they sit down, and then there's this pain. And in two instances, the person was having a heart attack, and we got the EMTs. That's it, 35 years of teaching or more. But there are these phenomena that if they go away as soon as you stop meditating, chances are they're just something moving through.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Good question for many.
thank you.
Meditators are a strange lot because we develop the capacity to bear that which was previously unbearable. And that's a skill that serves us really well. And we grow it bigger and bigger. And then life throws bigger bowling balls down the track, and then we have to deal with them. But we get so that we get capable of staying open of consciousness and heart to watch things move through, rather than, except in some instances, like the anxiety, sometimes maybe it's time to shut it down, and then we develop the ability. Thank you very much. I'm gonna just come here and abide in great ease and bliss, and I'll take care of the anxiety later. But for now, I'm gonna have half an hour or an hour or a couple of hours of just ease. So it's learning how to titrate our dose and how to open the floodgates and close the floodgates. Speaking of which, the rain has started. Is it quite apparent out there, the rain?
Actually, not so much.
Isn't that interesting? Oh, good. I'm glad of that.
So I'm only 15 miles away, too.
Huh.
So I was going to ask, and I mean, I hesitate because I think you're working pretty hard with these questions and stuff, and I really appreciate it, and we could do this later, but I just, the thought came up for me. I have a background in psychology and occupation connected with that, and there's a history around the idea of persona. You know, the Greeks sort of developed that idea, you know, that people acquire different personas, so our personality shows different faces, you know. And I don't know if it'd be interesting to hear what you would have to say about that. My sense is that it might be connected to different types of consciousness or something. I don't know.
I think that's a bit beyond our moment now.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
a little after 8. Oh, it's actually already 7 after 8. Is there something cooking for somebody that you'd like to share before we part? Well, I hope you have a lovely day. My plan of planting in the garden, I think, may be a little bit postponed today. My wife Jennifer got this wild idea the other day. She's been talking about painting the kitchen. And so we launched into it yesterday. We took off 30 cabinet doors and oh my, I washed the ceiling. So I think there will be something to do today. So please have a lovely day, and also if you want to, I won't be on at 7 tomorrow morning. I'm on at 10 o'clock, our usual PIMC Sunday morning gathering. So delicious, wonderful, beautiful, important of you all to come and participate in this time together. It's very, we're really lucky to have each other. I feel very fortunate and privileged to be able to play this role, and I am grateful for that. So, I'm going to open it up. Here we go. Unmute all. Click. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. There he is. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Goodbye, dear friends. Have a lovely, safe day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Robert.
Wear your masks and wash your hands.
Everyone.
Hi, Warren.
There you are.
Yorker.
Hi, David.
Because I said,
Take care, Warren. Take care.
nice to see you here.
Hi, Christy.
They started chatting.
Right.
He's in Nassau County.
Oh, have
Yeah.
a great day, David.
I was in New York City, a big state on our minds.
Oh, yeah.
Because of my in-laws are there.
Oh, wow. Hey, Allison. Hi. Good
Goodbye,
day.
dear
Good,
friends.
Okay.